kati para songkati bodhi soha. Kati kati para kati para songkati bodhi soha.
So I will do whatever I possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment, and knowing that to do that I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path by having access to really studying and learning and training in the path based on an unmistaken presentation. And so I'm here this morning to listen to an explanation on the outlines of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment as composed by the great Lam Rim Outline. So maybe we'll start this morning with a short meditation. And so then just assume the most comfortable position for sitting prior to meditation, as is spoken about in the texts. And so then, and so that in reference to that, then we try to adopt the 8 point of the postures as related to the Vairocana 8 posture instruction, being to sit as much as we can, as close as possible to the ideal of those 8 different postures, namely that we should try to adopt the legs crossed in the full Vajra posture. If not, then in the half or semi-Vajra posture is fine. Again, the body, the trunk of the body should be straight, erect, and with a straight spine. The shoulders even and level. The eyes not closed tightly nor open fully, but just looking down in the direction or focused on a point ahead of the tip of the nose. And the mouth, teeth, tongue, or mouth and teeth should be resting in a kind of a natural position without any clenching or opening of the mouth, and the tongue resting just behind the upper teeth on the upper mouth. Then also to try to again, the head is also straight, not leaning to the left or the right, and that we take the hands, as again I demonstrated, the right hand just resting on the left hand with the thumbs above and just touching at the level of the just below the navel, and to adopt that position as best we can, as long as we are comfortable there. If not, then to take whatever position is comfortable for you to engage in meditation. And so then we visualize in the space in front of us, at the level of our eyes, the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, the greatly compassionate one who's skilled in means, dressed in the saffron robes of a monk, and sitting in the Vajra posture with the right hand in the earth-touching mudra and the left hand holding the alms bowl filled with nectar, and in the nature of pure clear light. And to see the Buddha abiding in this posture and emanating like a light, pure clear light. And then we begin to recall the qualities of an enlightened being, the Buddha, as much as we know, as much as we have knowledge of, such as the Buddha being free of all fears of suffering with regard to themselves, and skilled in means in removing fear of suffering of others, who works for others with great compassion and without any bias, and who benefits all others regardless of whether he has been benefited from by them himself. Then reflect that we are surrounded ourselves by all kind, mother, sentient beings. Included in all these sentient beings all around us are, of course, our parents and of this life who have been so kind to us, all relatives and friends of this life also, those who we have are on very good terms with, also those, of course, who we are not on good terms with, those who have a feeling of dislike when they see us, and vice versa, and also those who are kind of neutral, who have no particular impact on our minds one way or the other. Also included within the concept of all sentient beings are all the beings within the hells and the hungry spirit realms, the human realms, the asura realms, the animal realms, the celestial being realms. Indeed, have the idea of all sentient beings surrounding us. And that all of these sentient beings are just like us in that they really want happiness, but are bereft of that happiness, and they really do not want suffering, but they are inundated by that suffering.
감고멜 하도 저 차샤와 있나요? 아니 가서라다 아니 저기 니랑 부비 좀 해줘야 좋아. 남신나 아니 하이레 가봤잖아요. 딱 예수부 담에 버리게 줘야 되네요. 아니 수수나 감때 저 있나 진짜. 또는 감수고 심지 근제질이 깨와 있네다. 동에 유에 동에 잡아도 제가 동에 제술을 맞대 버리셔. 삼삼ချက်.
And further reflection on the sufferings related to each of the particular realms brings us to reflect on the tremendous suffering of heat and cold in the hell realms, for example, and in the hunger and thirst characteristic of the hungry spirit realms, benighted ignorance related to the animal realms, and the many different sufferings that we are privy to in the human realms of birth, old age, sickness, death, of course, but also never being kind of like lack of satisfaction, of always searching for what we want but not finding it, and being inundated with the unpleasant, etc. And then the sufferings related to the Asura realms, where they're dominated by hatred and jealousy, fierce, strong emotions. And within the celestial realms, in the desire realm, they have the sufferings, the excruciating mental sufferings of the signs of impending death, and then the sufferings related to the form and the formless realms, in the context or in the category of the what are known as pervasive sufferings, where they must also bear the consequence of the positive karmas that led to their being reborn in these celestial realms, being exhausted and then falling to a lower realm thereafter. And in short, whether it's the suffering of suffering or suffering of change or pervasive suffering, that all sentient beings, ourselves included, are at the mercy really of these sufferings because we are in cyclic existence.
코어 감성지 코어 들에 깨친sel다 즉 가서라 다 동네 먼저 유명 개발자 그러면 또 돌았다 동네라 인딩이지 잡아 두지 그 동네를 맞대버지 예저도다 동네 때다 탐지를 타버져 맞아놨다 기빈님은 너무 셔서 말이 대대 저 가지고 심지어 탐지 동네 때다 탐지 전에 치모 저와 주지 저와 쇼지 something.
And so, in short, that once born into cyclic existence, it's always going to be inevitable that we experience a suffering. And even if we are temporarily free of manifest suffering related to the suffering of suffering, or even the suffering of change, of course we are still dominated by pervasive suffering, and that which will induce the other two sufferings also. And so really, without getting liberation from cyclic existence, I realize that I will never get beyond suffering. And therefore, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings could be free of such suffering. May they be free of suffering, that such suffering, I will be the one to free them from such suffering.
대다 진유바테네 어느 저것도 마샤자트베네 지금lap도서 섬당.
Oh, and on the basis of that, O Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to be able to make this so.
어다 되게 되게 덤바 덤바텔다 되게 탑지라 투지시부터 덤바를 미네 조금 더 쓰다.
So then place our fixed focus on placement meditation and just on the figure of the greatly skillful Shakyamuni Buddha in the space in front of us.
아니 왔다 간자 지금 덤발은 비비 아니 대바 고수도 인데 전시만 대바 아니 지금 심지는 비비 닝지 어떻게 지금 제도.
And so then focusing on that figure of Shakyamuni Buddha with a mind filled with faith, and also focusing on all sentient beings all around us with a mind filled with compassion. And that faith is a faith, is comprehensively faith of a clarifying faith and manifested faith, and the faith of conviction.
Another cause of the and took Duba, Dula said that we Dumbati, and gentle Rangachibo Hodula, Rangachibo Hodula, and Nimata David Danchi Somato, and the Dana, the Kanchachi Gentan, because of the bandits of Lamas was Dagachu, permitted you a cottage, goes on to the motor, so gentle, gentle and Tambacos, Nibacos show, tubercles. And
so now we visualize the invitation of that figure, or a replica of the figure of Shakyamuni Buddha, coming to rest on our crown, whereon we have prepared a lotus and sun and moon disk for the Buddha. And we make that invitation by reciting the invocation prayer 3 times. O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here on my crown. Keep me safe in your kindness, and bestow me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. And so with the first, the Buddha emanates a replica, a body. The second, the body comes to rest on the crown. And with the third recitation, we feel that the Buddha is now steadfast and stable in that position, and will remain until we ourselves attain the state of enlightenment. And so this is something to really celebrate, how wonderful this is. The Buddha has come as a result of my invitation, and so I really, really set my motivation to attain that state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, and the Buddha will remain until I attain that state. And so within that motivation, reflecting how my intention is to attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, to fulfill the wishes of all sentient beings. And within that, then I make the offering of the 7-limb prayer, along with the mandala offering to the Buddha on my crown. So within the context then of the seven-limbed offerings, we pay our homage with our prostration, we make our offerings, we do the confession of downfalls, recalling all the negativities we have engaged in towards Buddhas and towards all sentient beings, all of the vows that we have broken, or prohibitions that we have defiled, whether they are from vows themselves or from natural acts that we have contravened. And so we try to bring to mind all of the negativities, whether we remember or not, that we have engaged in, and confess them sincerely from our heart. And so from that then we do our the limb of rejoicing, and this includes of course rejoicing in our own virtues, in the virtues of all others, all the holy beings of the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas, the hearers, solitary realizers, all of the Arya beings and ordinary beings, indeed all the virtues of all sentient beings. We can rejoice and offer them all, yes, in the limb of rejoicing. Oh, and particularly rejoice in the virtues of those who we don't get on with, who we have difficulty with, rejoicing all of their good acts. And so we also, of course, request the Buddha not to enter into a parinirvana, and this would include all holy beings and Buddhas in all the worlds as well, wherever they are enacting enlightened activities, and that we request them to remain in the world to benefit sentient beings, and to also, of course, turn the wheel of Dharma to benefit sentient beings. And then the seventh of the limbs is to make the limb of dedication of all the virtues. And then we follow that by making a mandala offering. And so that having made these offerings, the offering of the seven-limb prayer and the mandala, and that we also are now very aware of how pleased the Buddha is. And from that pleasure we also perceive the Buddha of a bliss arising from the heart center in the Buddha, conjoining with emptiness, so that they abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness or voidness.
오다 텐데 이마에서다 년조다 장세의 양답에 따와 되게 되게 다 산제 고마 두고 요거 인자 어디는 도발미네 아니 가서 저 도배청아 또서 도배청아다 가서 마시오네 진짜 그러다 청아한테 쉬어도 다 간제 저기 사주 람가 되게 다 간제 저기 되게 다 간제 저기 모두 내당보지 기부 충무 기부 팀 기부 치부 라라 때네다 산제 고마 도바치고도 도바치고도 아니 또 엄스도 란지 룽아 타메 룽아 예수인데 다 산제 룽아 예수 주고 그러죠 산제 룽아 예수를 주어져 다디 주어도 그래서 지고 그랬으나 아니 기부스물 남냠설랑하는 주고 그랬어 아니 엄저 문이 있으나 문이 당분 로스 가서도 기부 주고 문이니 뭐 기부 팀 마음문이 세 기부 치부 디 냠설랑 할 때는 아니 산제 고마 주고 그러죠 된데 주고 치기 한 주고를 치기 납도 쓰였어 그래서 엄문이 마음문이 소스 와다 되게 돈다 텐시면 뭐는 도바라는 미션은 가서도 도배청아 직사수와
So we still focusing on the figure of the Buddha on our crown and reaffirming that our objective is to really do whatever we can to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. In order to do that, of course, I must train on the path. I must have the ability to understand what to do, how to train and so on. And so I call on the Buddha to please bless me to be able to train on the path without obstacles and to really fulfill all the qualities necessary to perfect all these qualities to attain the state of enlightenment. And we can refer to the mantra of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Tayata Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisvaha, in recalling how it really can be give the meaning of proceeding through the different 5 paths to attain the state of enlightenment itself, and to be able to take all the different qualities that we need to, refining them all, expanding the mind to attain that state of perfection which is synonymous with enlightenment. And also focusing particularly on the Buddha and recalling the name mantra of Shakyamuni Buddha, Om Muni Muni Maha Muni E Soha. We understand the Om with the 3 sounds referring to the body, speech and mind of the Buddha himself. The Muni, initial Muni, referring to the path, or the first path of the smaller scope being, and the second Muni, Muni Muni, referring to the path of the medium capacity being, and the Mahamuni, the path referring to the Bodhisattva path, or the path of the greater capacity being, and implicit in that is one's intention to perfect all of the subject matter in common with the paths of the smaller and medium capacity being, and to fulfill the goal of the greater capacity being's path in order to thereafter attain the state of enlightenment. And this Muniye Soha is to invoke the blessing of the Buddha to be able to make this so. And so then we're focusing again on the Buddha with faith and all sentient beings with compassion. We recite this mantra. And also to reflect that it's not just ourselves reciting, but that all of the sentient beings all around us, though they are experiencing the particular sufferings relative to their own realms, they are cognizing that with a human understanding, and thereby they also have this faith in the great qualities of the enlightened beings, and also they will accompany us in the recitation of the name mantra. Om Muni Muni Mani Swaha, 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 Om Muni Muni Mani Swaha, Muni Muni Mani Swaha.
그래서 어머니는 마음에서 어머니는 마음에서 덤배 올려 왜세 트네 왜세 뒤집 밥잖아 랑게 찍고 뭐 소스 섭사잖아 아니 랑게 담에에 류가 예숨티 아니 디바티 맞잖아 아니 뉴도 덤배 고토에 징글 납수 섭사 덤배 고소 도던 거 예비 징글 납수 바 뒤집 빠도 뭐 밤에.
So as we recite, then this kind of powerful and unstoppable rays of light emanate from the Buddha, and they flow through our crown down through our central channel in the form of that nectar light, which is clearing away completely all of our ordinary negativities, obscurations and so on, as in purifying our body-mind continuum with the blessing of that potential to attain the state of enlightenment ourselves. And that light is kind of flowing not just through our crowns and down through our central channels, but also through all sentient beings, and bringing with it this sense of really delight in the mind.
어머니 스와하. 보다 내가 삼 따위나 아니 지금 저기 가서 길에 지납 중에다 되게 키워요 그래 아니 근데 지금 나 다음에 가라 아니 지금 가서 녀비에 잡았더니 이거 말고 떠나요야지 왜세 반 맞지도 떠나요야지.
And feel then that our whole mind stream has been blessed by this process, and that as we have in the reciting of the mantra, that this sense of real sense of delight and joy in the mind as well. So that because otherwise when reciting the mantra in this way we can kind of become as it were not just bored with it, but lose focus. So we kind of focus on the fact that this is bringing blessing to the mind stream and joy and bliss and so on.
아니 저기 도발을 미네 다 같이 지금 저거 subject한테 대화대 대외 주대 되는 찜으로 대화 주제 대화 다게 지금 대다 지는 것도 배치가 subject 동에 주대 되는 찜으로 대화 주제 대화 쇼트 대화 다게 지금 아니 subject에 내려차 가서 다 동에 매 대화도 미잖아 찜으로 대화 주제 대화 쇼트 대화 다게 지금 삼서 안 대다 지는 것도 배치가 놔둬서 subject에 내려차다니다 대화 단요라는 찜으로 never judge, never short, never target. There's a general to be chingled up to the same thing and you repeating what that sort of what is.
And so we made this powerful supplications also, thinking how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. May this be the case. I will see to it that it is the case. Oh Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to make it so. How wonderful if all sentient beings were free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May this be the case. I will see that it is the case. O Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to make it so. How wonderful if all sentient beings had happiness that knows no suffering. And may it be so. I will see that it is so. O Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to make it so. And finally our supplication, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings abided in equanimity, free from attachment and anger that holds some close and others distance. May this be the case. I will see to it that it is the case. O Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to make it so. And so as a result of these supplications, then the again powerful rays of light emanate from the Buddha, with the white light predominant, entering in through the crowns of myself and all sentient beings and purifying all negativities and obscurations in general and in particular, all the negativities I have accumulated in not abiding in the four immeasurables perfectly. I really feel that this is the case, that I have been completely relieved of all these negativities. And then again, making the supplication using the four immeasurable thoughts of how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and the causes were free from suffering, and the causes had the happiness that knows no suffering, and were able to abide in equanimity. And continuing with that, how wonderful that would be. May it be the case. I will see that it is the case. And making the supplication of Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, please bless me to make this so. Again, as a result of our sincere supplications, the Buddha again emanates nectar light, and this time with the golden light predominant, entering in through the crowns of myself and all sentient beings. And this time also really giving us the blessing of the Buddha's qualities of body, speech and mind, and in particular really awakening our potential to attain a realization of the four immeasurable thoughts. I think how wonderful this is, that this potential to attain that realization of the four immeasurables in myself and in all other sentient beings is something really wonderful. And so that's this is something really significant, isn't it? Because of how central the whole purpose of avoiding suffering is in our lives, and the fundamental desire to attain happiness for myself and all sentient beings. This is all implicit in the generation of the realization of the four immeasurables.
잡아두지가 동행이 딱 간제제 가서다 다다 동행이 뇌지 마음바 동행 아니 템버치 다 되지게 그런 내가 지게 되지도 와. 다 되는데 다 되게 잡아두지를 동행이 그 나차베 시험도 교차베다 기분이 맞아와는 것도 되게 임바이자 다 잡아두지가 동행에 잡아지 제거도 다 뒤에 자와 잡아두지가 동행이 자와도 다지 말이 버린 것도 와. 그래서 다 담에 또 배시랍지 맞지만 타면도 또 왔다 진짜 왔다 되려서 아니 코알에 개바 줘 연중지 있어다. 연중디 아니 배마 답제지라 아주 삼사체. 랑기 연중 삼도데 셈데 아니 나바 배마 답제지라 주 니가 거도 니가 배마 답제지라 주 삼사체 어떻게
And so then we reflect that at our own heart center appears an upturned 8-petaled lotus, and that that causes us to reflect on again the whole status in which we abide in cyclic existence, how in cyclic existence myself and all other sentient beings never really get beyond suffering. Whether it's the suffering of suffering or the suffering of change, but even in the absence of those two, we are still abiding in pervasive suffering, which is really the definition of cyclic existence as being in the nature of suffering. And that, whether we experience the other two or not, then because of the reality of pervasive suffering, it's like we are a container or a vessel for suffering, and that this will induce the suffering of suffering and the suffering of change also. And so we realize that unless I get free from cyclic existence, I will not get beyond the pervasive suffering. And so this becomes imperative. Therefore, I realize that I need to focus on the very root cause that keeps me in cyclic existence, and that is the ignorance of grasping at a self-entity, and be able to cultivate the antidote to that, the direct antidote to that being the wisdom of selflessness. But in order to begin that process, I need to develop a sense of renunciation, and it is this 8-petaled lotus that represents the concept of renunciation.
년중 섬지가 섬다 년중 셈데 아니 배마 답게치를 주소 섬선이가 하도 아니 되네 왔다 다 아니 저 가서데 다 되게 섬제 탐제가 되는 산제 고바 두기 있으게 나디 야 아니 나디야 아니 봐저 유대네 두고 아니 두삼매 괜찮 또그 파다 섬서 유대네 두고 두삼매 괜찮 다 나디야 아니 바 유대네 쪽도 좀 저도 많이 봐. 지금 삼다. 근데 많이 별로디게 많이 별로디 아니 니메기 고치라 줘서 삼선 니메기 고치. 뭐라기 가서 동반이 예별로 임발라 남바데 아니 니메기 고치 줘서 삼사차.
And so then this mind that wants to gain a definite emergence from cyclic existence and renouncing the whole concept of cyclic existence. Of course, when I say I must attain liberation from cyclic existence, I examine the status of that I, that self, and come to the knowledge that it is something which lacks any objective existence. So when I search for its status as existing objectively, I do not find that state. It is something that is not findable under analysis, and it is this mere absence which indicates that it is lacking any objective existence and is merely imputed by thought. And it's this wisdom of realizing this that is represented by the sun disk mandala which sits on the lotus.
정보 제바체 아니 많이 베티칼 셈도 샤 동반이 삼도 다 많이 버 셈티 샤 아니 많이 버 된데기 동바 된데기 많이 버 게베 로티 동바 게베 로티 아니 가서데 니메기 거치 줄수 삼삼체 가서 근데 레 삼삼 마시 맞잖아 그 삼로지 다전 많이 버 되가 셈도 샤 된데기 셈티 아니 니메기 거치 줄수 삼삼체.
And in fact, through that meditation of really analyzing for to find this what appears to be objectively existent I or self, and then through that analysis, not finding it, and this we place our focused attention on the mere not finding of that objective existence, and from that voidness, from that emptiness arises the sun disk mandala.
Dene da dene ane da semje tamje roda semje tamje da ran ane kowe dunge na wana shi semje shen ran ta ni ba semje tamje ja da kowe dunge na de jibo jijang cha de jibo jijang cha de da 지고 지자체 랑게 대화 두고 좀세 가르서 랑 대화 대화 동에 믿어봐 인사 좀세 뒤에 온거 랑 대화 두고 요래 다 디다시 셈제 셈바 대다 탐제자 대화 대화 동에 맞도 kok군에 송화차 되어 인사 kok군에 송 차차 집어 임바 인사 아니 셈제 대다 탐제게 아니 대화 뒤에 동에서 탑시 제고 도와 다 대화다 동에서 탑 나나 매바데 다 산제 고마 탑스나 다 대화 탐제도 잡아. 대화 탐제도 잡아. 동안 탐제도 잡아. 어디 차지도 와. 다 된대 봐서 아니 산제 고마 맞잖아. 탐도 안 두바지기 상상차.
And then we reflect on our need for happiness and the need to avoid suffering, and realizing that all sentient beings are equal in that respect. That this is sort of the kind of fundamental purpose of life, to seek happiness and to avoid suffering, and that all sentient beings are likewise in that regard, and that therefore because I want to work for the benefit of sentient beings, I want to bring as much benefit to sentient beings as possible. I realize that it's in attaining the state of enlightenment itself that I can really fulfill that goal, that ideal. Indeed, by attaining the state of enlightenment, I can bring all happiness to sentient beings and relieve all sentient beings of all suffering. And so therefore, I pledge to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings, and thereby generating the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta. And from that mind arises the moon disk mandala. So then we kind of like place the lotus, upturned 8-petaled lotus and moon and sun disk mandala at our own crown center, and bring our attention again to the Buddha in the nature of light on our crown, and make a powerful invocation and invitation to the Buddha to come and rest on the seat that we have prepared at our heart center. Again, by reciting the invocation verse, O glorious and precious root Guru, come take your lotus and moon seat placed here at my heart. Keep me safe in your kindness, and bestow on me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind. So this is recited 3 times, The first begins the journey down through our crown, down through the central channel. The second brings the Buddha to rest on the seat of lotus, sun and moon disk. And thirdly, we have the impression of the Buddha remaining steadfast and stable in that position until we attain the state of enlightenment ourselves. And so from the all Lu Tamje Sana. Oh, sorry. And from that process, we realize that our whole body also is now completely pervaded by a pure, clear light. And the function of this complete pervasion of light in our own bodies eradicates all problems or obstacles and negativities to our attaining a state of liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment, and rids our body and mind of these negativities as well as their imprints, and also all the imprints of illness and disturbance and imbalance in the channels and in the winds in the body, in our blood, and so on, that these also have completely been purified. And any kind of degeneration of the elements and so on, again, that they have been rectified and regenerated. And all the kind of extremes within our own thinking of, becoming in a very fickle way, overly excited in terms of delight and over depressed in terms of sadness, that these extremes have been also eradicated. So going from tears to laughing too easily, that these kind of extremes have kind of like left us. And in short, all the obstacles and obscurations to our being able to work efficiently and easily for the benefit of others have been completely eradicated. That we are capable of really working towards the perfection of generosity, ethics, patience, enthusiastic perseverance, meditative concentration and wisdom, and the 4 ways of accumulating disciples, etc. All that is necessary to work for others, that we are kind of like rendered capable of being able to do that in a very efficient way from now on. How wonderful that is, how wonderful that is. So then the seat on which the Buddha at our heart center is sitting, the lotus element folds over to enfold the Buddha at our heart center. And so this then is bound by the Sanskrit vowels which circle the lotus, enfolding the Buddha in a clockwise direction, the Sanskrit consonants which do likewise, but in an anti-clockwise direction, and then thirdly the mantra of dependent origination, again going in a clockwise direction, also circles the lotus petals.
What that is now, and also Garis Sagi, Gari Tungu, Tigatica, and Chicasodas, Dobal and Chuapu, some such what that is. What is some of them? What is
and so then from hereafter, then all of that which we eat and drink, of course, is an automatic offering to the Buddha at our heart center. And to reflect that as a result of these offerings of food and drink, that they bring pleasure to the Buddha, and this pleasure transforms into bliss at the heart, and they can abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. And so therefore anytime we eat it becomes an offering. And so then with the taking as we aspect of the meditation known as taking the mind of enlightenment onto the path, we reflect on our own most subtle wind as the substantial cause, and the body of the Buddha as the cooperative conditions, and they're combining into transforming our body into the actual body of a Buddha. And to really rejoice in that, thinking how wonderful that is, that all of the negativities, physically related negativities related to the wind element in the body have completely been purified and eradicated. How wonderful that is. And through the combination of my own most subtle mind as the substantial cause with the mind of the Buddha as the cooperative conditions, my own mind is now transformed into the enlightened mind of a Buddha. And that this means that all of the deluded obscurations and the obscurations to omniscience have now been completely eradicated, and I have attained a state of enlightenment. How wonderful that is. And that this objective of attaining the state of enlightenment for the benefit of sentient beings has been achieved today. How wonderful that is. So that then through this transformation of body and mind into the enlightened body and mind of a Buddha, brings, of course, this sense of tremendous pleasure and bliss to the mind. And we too can abide in the wisdom of non-dual bliss and voidness.
And
that this place transforms into a pure realm, a Buddha realm. And so then, as a result of this, and sending out rays of light equal in number to all the sentient beings surrounding us from our own enlightened heart center, we see that all of the beings are transformed as a result of these lights entering in through the crowns of each sentient being. For example, in the hell realms, whereby all negativities have been purified, and as well as their imprints, and all positive qualities have been fulfilled, so that they themselves attain the state of enlightenment. And this likewise, the same process occurs in the hungry spirit realm, in the animal realm, in the human realm, the asura realm, the celestial being realm, the form and formless realms also. That all the sentient beings actually transform into the state of enlightenment. Again, we rejoice in that. How wonderful that the main goal of the attainment of the state of enlightenment for myself has now been fulfilled. I have brought all sentient beings to that state of enlightenment. How marvelous that is. And likewise, all the different places or states that they are in, that's through, again, the emanation of countless rays of light, that these hell realms, hungry spirit realms, etc., are transformed and purified into pure Buddha realms themselves. Again, is something to rejoice in. That is something really wonderful. Then make a powerful supplication based on the reality that we know we are only doing this in our imagination now, but that may this become manifest for real quickly. So that, of course, in the course of doing a meditation here, we are limited in time. But on your own, in your own private capacity, that if you have more time, it is really worthwhile to elaborate on the different elements of this particular meditation. For example, when reflecting on the sufferings of, say, the hell realms, that one can reflect in more detail on the kinds of sufferings of heat and sufferings of cold that must be undergone in the hell realms, but also to consider the occasional hell sufferings and the neighboring hell sufferings and so on, and to go into more detail in order to really develop and augment the sense of compassion that is the whole point of such meditations, and also to consider those who are due to go into the hell realms, who have already accumulated the causes, like for ourselves, our hell realms or hungry spirit realms or our animal realms, any of the lower realms or any of the realms of cyclic existence, that also you're really reflecting on those and wanting to completely eradicate those causes so that they don't have to undergo those states. And so that again, if you have more time, it's worthwhile to elaborate on these kinds of reflections.
대다 누바식 쳇쳇 줘야 개발하는 것도 가서 닌제 생각에 동해에 나와를 미스 받지는 닌제 생각이면 또 딜레시면 닌제 쉬어 말아. 닌제 뭐네 동해에 나와를 미스 가지고 오여 봐. 다뭐 동해 나와 미스 받 동해 못 주고 그도 봐. 다 동해 다도 무슨 통대 동해도 배 뉴뉴지도 와. 뉴뉴지래. 이래 디아 마스 받시고 있다 두어다. 두대 이네 딜레 동해 스톱 쳐다 하고 뭐 그런 거라서 미리게 되어 인상 미스근데 가서다 즉 레슨부 사베 되고 차대 지잖아. 레슨부 사베 되고 차대 그걸 동해 요다 동해 시간 누가 열어 봐. 동해 시간 누가 다 동해 지다 시고 두가 이내다 심바 냐와다 이다다 뒤를 때도 시간 누가 시간 누가 차대 다 되게 뒤에서 그 동해 뭐 잡고 쳐 아니 동해다 아니 심제들 매 민제의 숙제도 쳇 줘야지.
So that it's really central to try to cultivate a more telling, a more comprehensive compassion, and to use every opportunity to do so. And that is done so on the basis of our reflecting on suffering. And it's really tried to bring that home to us more and more clearly, that even though we are born as a human being, which is actually the result of positive karmic imprints, yet we know that there is suffering in this world by our own experience, and it's something that we sometimes find unbearable. But even by comparison, this kind of suffering is relatively benign compared to other sufferings in cyclic existence. And so we have to bring those to mind. And so that's why to reflect on the sufferings of the hell realms and the hungry spirit realms, etc., is very, very important, that it can really nourish our compassion, which of course is essential in the process of cultivating the special intention to take personal responsibility, which in turn, of course, is that which is brings about the mind of enlightenment, bodhicitta, as well. And so the extent to which our bodhicitta is all-encompassing and fully cultivated is the extent to which that compassion is furnished, and that, of course, depends on our reflection on suffering.
What did I say? 뒤주 여바이나 도스 게스. 뒤주 매바이나요. 거기 심지 감정다 동에 매바 차서 어디에 삼다 뒤주 매바. 뒤주 여바가냐 도스 게스. 야? 배는 니마지 도스 나외 동에 개봤어. 니만 니버들이야. 나외 동에 뒤주 야 이다동에 개와서 되네야 두두동에 되네 미동에 그냥 이 말이 이제 꼬라 잡에 용사와 이제서 꼬라 잡진 야 삼다네 책서와 지용 지 삼다 꼬라 잡이야 지 개와 삼다 어떤 데서 좋아지 좋다네 그래서 람림다 계속 고다다 그래서 년주동에 다다데 이 그래서 다 년주동에 년주동에다 년주동에다 지금 시우 타고 뭐 쑥송 것도 아까 가서 말아서 삼로 당에 씹은 거 열어 봐. 이 삼로 당에 가서 말아줘라. 잡아든 이제 숙치한 누바치아 줘야. 누슈치다 줘야. 그러나 근데 자주 그 누슈 맞게 되는 권에 권도 피해다. 근데 개와 연구에서 쓰고 열어 왔다.
And so that if we have the time, and then of course to do these reflections on the different realms more extensively, and if we haven't got the time, then do the best you can. And with time, that you can in fact in the course of one day just reflect on the sufferings of only the hell realms, and then on another day to reflect on the sufferings of the hungry spirit realms, and in this way we'll go through all the different realms of cyclic existence and get a really comprehensive understanding, and thereby really cultivate that compassion. This is why, like when we do the graduated path teachings, and we discuss the sufferings of the lower realms, that they are done in quite an extensive fashion. And the purpose is to give us that much to reflect on. It's because it's very, very necessary to be able to use that suffering, knowledge of suffering, awareness of suffering, to cultivate our compassion.
And this something and Garazo Tanda Milu and Nuba Kebaji, you was tongue to go to one. That when she was gave us somebody shall, Yakuchum shall something, to Tolamata, the independent one.
And so too, the fact of really understanding in relation to us having been born as a precious human rebirth, that how important that is, how puts us in a particularly important position, that we are fortunate but also responsible that we do not waste any of this precious human rebirth.
some Tamadan was the Benang was Australian and the Kida Shiminaga Bemabuyor. Kida Shaman, so Kida Shimitela, go Kocha, and delete Chakwashi can order, yeah, she may, yeah, kiss in there, said Kohonda, that delete and the ran to me, Lieutenant Levatel Kao Comie. And the delete that me, Lieutenant Levatel, Dota Tabajo, some time, some common Nurvaya.
So that because without this sort of more extensive thinking, that we can get kind of caught up into a sort of a fantasy world view in places like Australia, in a first world country where many people pay a lot of attention to their pet dogs and their pet cats, and they feel that they're fulfilling some sort of compassionate role in spoiling their cat and their dog. Whereas it's only kind of really serving to cultivate more attachment. So my cat, my pet dog, my pet cat. But also it is sort of like taking away their ability to think more broadly and more extensively as it befits a human intelligence. And so in many ways that by keeping a focus so narrowly on one other sentient being or a few other sentient beings, that they are not really making their human life meaningful. They're really kind of not using that opportunity well.
당가서 미스거든. 그 양이 야와치 체도도. 아니 딜레테네 아니 지금 야보 주주도도. 냐바게 주빵도도. 다들 사람들 ninja다. 조부시우 차대도 ninja. 조부시우 차대도. 안 딜레테네 랑 밀을 레바들 가와코미에다. 안 딜레테네 다 가자 지금 페바 야치 못 주게 주 사투야
And so that, of course, there are many different ways to think about this. It's not sort of to denigrate any kind of like dogs and cats or the caring for dogs and cats. It's simply looking at the potential, the lack of potential in a way, that a dog or a cat or any pet has for developing virtue. Of course, they can bring comfort, they can do good things, but they cannot recite a mantra, they cannot go for refuge and so on. Their ability to engage in virtue is highly limited, whereas a human being, another human being, they can, if put on the right path, really serve to engage in very good acts and also to, more importantly, abandon afflictive ways of thinking and so on. And so that sort of like is implicit in this concept of rejoicing in one's own precious human rebirth, because of the benefit that can come from that. But of course, the great care for one's pet dog or pet cat and looking after them when they're ill and so on, this is something marvelous. This is something really worthwhile and wonderful as well. But sometimes when that's kind of brought to an extreme, one can see that some people maybe think that their pet cat is more important than another human being. Now that's something a little bit strange. And so they have reserve all their conversation for their dog or cat, but they have nothing to say to their friends or their neighbors.
이내다 지금 가서 지금 미셔봐도 가지고 나온 거지. 그래서 대발에 이내다 가서 낭바이 되네 대바치 뭐 있어도 그 키다 10인 야바데 대바치에 최다 좀 많이 해야 되겠지 뭐다. 가서 랑게 타바다 타비 좀 줘서 줘야지. 좋아다. 진짜 맞긴 심지어데. 난 근데서 다 레고 이게다네. 이게 심이 차바데. 어떤 걸 들어 봐지 갈 그겁지 중화제 삼삼. 는 보고 있네다가 가서 최대 좀 맞춰야지. 되게 좀 더. 미셔봐 가지는 거죠. 제와스케도 라미 팽게 바로 되게 바로 나라도 다 남바이 되나 대바치 뭐 있어야 돼. 아니 소소 가르쳐 봐 대바치 최대 좀 맞춰야지.
So, of course, those whose desire it is to care for a dog or a cat in that way is their own business. I'm only really referring to the fact that, you know, as Buddhists, and especially as aspiring Mahayanists, that we should live our lives according to those the principles implicit in those teachings. So that if we're caring for a pet or our child or anybody, it is with us really informed with the whole purpose of wanting to attain and them to attain the state of liberation and the omniscient state of enlightenment. And so that we look upon the care as a great opportunity to really facilitate that and to bring that about for them as well. And so we kind of need those causes to attain the state of enlightenment, so that the care for those who we care for is informed by that motivation to really lay down the causes to attain the state of enlightenment for the benefit of all.
우당한테 심지 탐정이도 사제 고마토비야. 란게 나는 맨사바데 심지 탐정이도 사제 고마토비야. 강가에서 주에도.
So everything actually should be commandeered towards the to setting up the causes to attain a state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. So that for us, if whether we're eating or sleeping or benefiting others or breathing, even the medicine we take when we're sick, all of it should be a part of a motivation to attain a state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. And so that when we talk about studying the Dharma, it's in order to integrate that Dharma into practice. And what is our practice is that which is conjoined with everything we do in every day, our whole day. And so when we have it like that, then it's not absolutely necessary to even have a separated time and place in order to do our session, of meditation or practice, because we are our life is our practice. Of course, if we have the time, it's good to kind of set aside time for more concentrated, more deep reflection on the teachings, of course. And so this is only kind of like really relating this kind of advice to the 21st century living, wherein people have very little time to do what they want. They're constantly busy. So it's good to integrate everything we do in harmony with the Dharma as much as we possibly can.
내단 근데 집에 내단 뒤 아니 저 최다 투바 제투야 내단 근데 최다 투바 제투가 있나 아니 거 저기 믹스에게 뒤주 중간이 약보래 뒤주 마중아 임바이네 랑이 제티 딱딱 줘 두고 와.
So this skill of being able to conjoin any situation we are in with the Dharma, that is, it is in harmony with Dharma principles, is really paramount. Therefore, thereby, if we fail on that day to reserve a particular time for practice, for example, then it's not a problem, because we're doing everything in harmony with Dharma in any case. And because of the Mahayana ideal being predicated on benefit to others, other sentient beings, then we don't need a special time or a special place like a temple or anything in order to fulfill that ideal. That we are, out in the world, we are with sentient beings, and that is our realm of influence. That's where we practice. And so that, if we're in the business of kind of more or less dismissing or ignoring sentient beings, then it makes a mockery of our prayer to attain a state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. There's not much meaning in it. So it's like being in a Buddha realm, like when you're talking about eradicating suffering in a Buddha realm, there's not much meaning, because there's no suffering in a Buddha realm. You need to get down here where it's suffering. That's where it really counts.
다 잡았어. 갈래 갖고도 되는 많이 받잖아. 나는 그것도. 그래서 나 코아바 이바 인사 안 가라 레가 온게 동해 나가 심지 통고도. 동해 나가 심지도 저와차기도. 그래서 나는 그거 야고 쉬울도 없어. 그거 야고다 소소그티 좀전 때봐. 저한테 때봐 통나 아니 갈래요만 좋아요 봐. 좋아요.
So that we have to really understand our role as being in a situation, therefore, where we have a immeasurable opportunity to be able to be of benefit, to somehow relieve others of suffering, and that therefore we should never become exhausted or think that this is too hard, that any situation we're in, that due to the karma of being in cyclic existence, we are inevitably going to encounter on a very frequent basis those who are tormented by suffering or suffering situations. And so it really is a much better attitude to say, I have an opportunity now, another opportunity, how wonderful, to really practice the Mahayana ideal, to really overcome, to really eradicate, to help, to relieve, to bring comfort and so on, and understanding to this situation. And that with that sort of sense of idealism and a kind of like the strength of purpose in recognizing it as an opportunity, we are less likely to be exhausted or to suffer from compassion fatigue.
딱가서 무튼의 제마도에 강가 가서나 아니 거기서 자스 부스 토네 서로 좋아하면다 요것도 와 좋아요나 강가 가서 요나 저 강가 매대서 저기요 와.
So that sense of inspiration, that sense of delight is that which brings us to be able to continue and to persist in our capacity to help others and to relieve sufferings. Because if we don't have that, and then we quickly get bored, we get disillusioned, and that sort of takes away that sense of impulse to really want to be there for others, isn't it? It really dilutes our good intentions.
그래서 장주 선반전zul라 아니 지금 샘제가 되는 동해가 나와 샘제 통한도 제 동해들 다 미소와 요거때 이나야 샘딩들 좋아시고 좀 보여 봐. 오다 내 편도 제 그거 야고 시고 조수 삼삼지. So
we take the attitude of the bodhisattvas who have developed that mind of enlightenment, that of course, then on the one hand, they find that anybody suffering the torment of suffering is unbearable. But at the same time, they are thrilled to have an opportunity to do something about this for these sentient beings or for that sentient beings, to bring about benefit, to want to relieve that suffering. And they are focused on the opportunity. And so that's kind of like what meaningful action looks like.
몰람다 대수 잡에 소라주면 문에 단에 라랭갈 줘도 그냥 채워한테 가라서 삼루시 당기면 도와. 삼루시 마다도 용되게 도와. 가라서라.
So that's we must take on some of this action attitude, that is can-do attitude, because sometimes we do let ourselves down. That we can do the prayers okay, but when it comes to the practice, that we do tend to fall short. And that so we need to look at how we can improve that.
And
so that of course this proceeds on the upon the foundation of reasoning, and that if we look for reasonings for helping here in this particular situation, we will find those reasonings. There's no doubt. and that but once one's action is underpinned by such reasoning, and then we can really use our body, speech and mind, whatever we have, to bring benefit to the situation. So there's not that much time left, so I think we leave it there. Is it okay if we kind of like start again next week? Yeah, leave it there. So, but you know, I really put an emphasis on the mind training in this particular session, and I think please reflect on that. That really is key. It's so important. How we deal with our everyday lives, how we can use our opportunity to benefit. That, of course, the topic that's coming up is mental serenity and special insight and so on. And that takes time. That takes a lot of time to be able to develop that. But with the mind training that I've referred to today, something that we can do now. You need to develop mental serenity. Of course, you need a great deal of time, and you need very particular circumstances to be able to pull it off. So sometimes we do like to talk about the kind of things that we're not yet able to do, but we fail to really do the things that we are capable of doing now. In fact, mind training is really like a preliminary to the development of serenity and special insight, because when we train the mind well, it brings that control to the mind, that subduing of the mind, which of course is essential for the development of the meditative concentration relative to mental serenity and special insight. And so it's important to see that in context as well, where it stands. Because you know, without that sort of kind of disciplined thinking around mind training, and then we are really at the mercy of our own discursive thinking, mental proliferation, where we have lots of notions coming into the mind, which are in many ways, you know, guaranteed to be inaccurate to a greater or lesser extent. So we never get to actually realize the actuality of a situation. And so kind of like really fumble along in our lives because of that. So kind of like we're always in this state of doubt or of suspicion, you know, like in a dream. You have all sorts of thoughts coming into the mind, you know, all sorts of fears, superstitions, and so on. And then you have somebody showing you respect, and you have suspicious about what their motives are. And then those who don't show you any respect, then you have suspicion about what their motives are. There's constantly this kind of like these how do you say, unhelpful thinking, really, discursive thoughts that are continuous in our minds.
뒤쪽에 촐라 쉬었다는 거야.
And so much time is wasted in that way of thinking.
영원한 누가 쉬었게도 와.
And of course, this is giving every ample opportunity to mental affliction to develop as well.
다 들려고 다 되게 건가 시험도 마다한테 쌤 뒤답잖아. 아니 그거 봐서 강도도 패받자 마도 패받자도 몰라버렸다. 또잖아.
So in fact, when you compare that sort of life with the life where you say you don't give opportunity to that sort of discursive thinking, but you do your best to try and control the mind, develop your mind training, and be as beneficial as you can to those who you can benefit, and then who you can't benefit, to make aspirational prayers that you will be more beneficial in the future. That sounds easier, really, doesn't it? Really, than having to live with and deal with all this discursive thinking. So that people say they can't practice. It's really more a case of they haven't really tried. They haven't really put their heart and soul into it. If you did, actually your practice would be the easiest part of your day, of your life. That would be much easier than living the life according to your mental afflictions.
야고사도 말에 아니 니 기부 그거 말에 아니 미스투나 남주 야고 요마다 근데 괜찮아 얘네야 미 약불라베라 되고 그래 다 근데 거거는 가서 얘네 다 디칼체도 공배 온 그래도 와 저 검시 숙제부 여바 인사 아니 거 레라고 갈 거되고 여봐.
And so this kind of habit, this very powerful habit of just taking kind of the easiest line through life, where you're kind of not happy. You're not really bringing benefit to others. You're constantly miserable, and you buy into that kind of misery on a consistent basis. But if people say, that's good, well, you accept that. Yeah, I'm leading a good life. There's no kind of self-reflection to give you the actuality of your situation. And that's really born of really powerful habituation. That you're kind of you're asleep to the actuality of the situation.
근데 이번에서 지금 대과 준비 취역을 로종 걸어 빼야지 모래. 대과 준비 취역을 로종 거래. 더 보자면이나. 좋아. 로종 거래. 자기 이번에서 로종데 강투도 그. 난 처음부터 뒤에 로종을 냅때 로다. 오고 섬을 빼고 빼야보도. 아니야. 쉬워지 제마도 가고 쉬울 때는 매대겠지. 일단 맞제네 하버와. 맞제네 하버입니다. 제마도에 쉬워지 미국의 동을 쉬고 제거했겠는데 와. 양거 지금 배나 지금까지 지금 기고 공다 때에 지금 저거 미국에 보면은 그 자체부터 와. 어때 내게 제목을 같이 고양 보지. 아니 그 뭐유게 내저 투메토나 그 편바tuk도는 좀 편바tuk도 뭐는 그렇죠. 아니 대화 주나야. 아니 대화 주나 대위 주 사답지. 동네 주나 아니 양조 동네 좀 뭐야 탑시지. 다들 저거 미제도 동 되고 싶지.
And so that, in fact, that when we say, in the Mahayana texts, the teachings on mind training are really vast. In fact, one could say that Mahayana Dharma is mind training Dharma, really. And that, when we take that on really sincerely and try to really integrate that into our lives, it's so powerfully benefit that not only will you be able to do the things you do well better, but also you will be able to take on many things that you think you couldn't do. And that, of course, there are issues, things there like the focusing on a full mandala with all the detail and all that could be beyond us now. That's fine. We don't have to deal with that right now. But what's asked of us in the mind training is really possible. And when you read a mind training text, you can feel that, can't you? The benefit of that is kind of really apparent and very real, and that we feel we can really adjust my life in such a way that it will be so much more beneficial. And of course, that being of benefit and to others brings itself a joy a sense of real well-being to each of us, and that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. So we'll leave it at that. So the so of course, yeah, we did introduce the topic as the final two perfections, in particular the final two perfections. So we didn't quite get around to it. So. But anyway, maybe that those among us who are really seriously into in the middle of developing their mental serenity and special insight is probably quite rare. There's probably not many of us at that stage yet. But the mind training, a little taste of mind training, is always relevant to us. But so of course we'll go through the text slowly. So let's do our dedication, of course, to attain the state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Also dedicating all the virtue that has been accrued here towards the eradication of conflict in the world from domestic violence, through community unrest, through international conflict, that these issues may be dealt with through a path of peace and mutual respect. And so we also dedicate towards the preservation of the environment, the regeneration of destroyed environments through human beings gaining a sense of satisfaction with what they have. And of course that we will have appropriate rain at the right time, etc. So let's do our Lam Rim dedication prayer, page 29. From my two collections vast as space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives mental. May I find the best and complete greater paths of the teachings. May I please the Buddhas in my practice. Using skillful means strong by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings. With the points of the path as I have discerned them, may I hold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this greater path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children, may all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may wishes of prosperity spread everywhere.
Kirpana Kirguchi Kirpana Pamilpaya Gome Gomdu Pewasho Karira Korishin Yante Pernan Dewa Maru Jomwene Cheme Siwa Tenzin Drasoji Shabe Sita Batu Tenguroshi
Great treasure of compassion, not only the true existence, and Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, as well as Vajrapani, destroyer of all the demons without exceptions. Sankapa, crown jewel, the sages, the ranges, and lanes. Welcome back up at your feet, I make requests.